Global.Media.com. Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Then celebrate it with or without champagne or rum.
Zara, I missed my 30 seconds myself, right? Like I normally do. Hello, everyone. It says starting soon. I've started already. Yes, Miss Alexis, we've started. Let me put this in the comments so people can see. Join the studio to share. If you when the links in the comments, you can copy and paste it into your browser. I'm trying to send you the link. Double echo. Who's making that noise? I can hear noise. Someone is probably Dr. Yvonne doing stuff. Dr. Yvonne.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's fine. Yeah, if you're on mute, that's fine. No, welcome to Book to Business, my friends. This is one of my favorite test rooms. See, I love rooms where I get to talk about things that annoy me. Anyway, turn your camera on. That really they can actually see you there. Yeah. These things happen, right? How you doing, Zara? How you doing, Mr. Calm? How you doing, Dr. Yvonne? And I say I'll come to you, of course. So now, welcome. If you're here, please drop us a comment. I know Alexis has made a couple of comments. Alexis, we are here. Yes, we are here. Anytime. Zara can attest to anytime. Anytime is a real thing. Anytime is a real thing. Go on, Zara. Tell them all about it.
Oh my God, guys. Anytime is a real thing, right? So this person comes, you know how you have your coffee meets and then you have your actual meets. So me and Annie had our first coffee meet, I think about a month ago now. I think it was.
Yeah.
And I waited for Annie for a whole day. I woke up at 5 o'clock. You know, you get your blood drags out and you do what you need to do. And I thought, it's lovely. I'm meeting the most remarkable person because Annie is remarkable in energy. Like he even shares his chicken. Like imagine this. Annie is remarkable as a person. You have to meet him. But imagine me, little me, 5'5", and Annie is 6'3". And he showed up in his flashy car, you know, didn't even get dressed because, you know, why would wealthy people show up in clothes that make them look like they have? No, he showed up like, this is me. This is who I am. So, guys, honestly, thank you, Annie, for giving me the stage. But, guys, if you're going to have a coffee meet, the second stage is meet the person in IRL, because it makes a huge difference. Annie is remarkable online, but he's even more remarkable in person. And he bought me the most beautiful Christiana. Thank you, Annie. Thank you for that. Thank you for Nando's and chicken.
I think you only waited 3 hours, right? Was it 3 hours?
Oh,
or was it
3 hours. 3 hours. I just woke up. Yeah, I just woke up. And no, because the coffee shop we were supposed to go to, the really nice one,
it closed.
Filipino. Yeah, it closed at 5 o'clock. So imagine I booked the place and then I had to go to Kino's across the road. And then we went somewhere else anyway. What time was it? After 5 o'clock. And I waited from 12. 5 hours is any time. So anyone who wants to meet Annie, don't get up. Go to sleep.
I'm so sorry. No, I am terrible with time. I'll say it again now. I'm terrible with time. God awful, right? Sometimes do I hate myself? No, I don't hate myself for it. I get you. I'm used to it now, right? I'm used to the fact that I'll get there on the day within reason. You know, but
okay.
I'm not gonna get there early, and I'm not gonna get there on time. I try.
You didn't try.
It was raining. It was raining. Yeah, that day was chucking it down.
Wow.
In Milton Keynes, anyway. Milton Keynes, it was chucking it down. Torrential floods. and then there was Silverstone. There was a race at Silverstone down the road, and I got lost, Zara. I got lost. Remember that? I got 25 miles lost. So 25 miles one way, the wrong way on the motorway, 25 miles back, and I was like, oh well. You know, there's so many other things happen. I can't even tell you about it, Zara.
Yeah, but the call was, I'm on my way, Zara.
My way. I was on my way. I was in my car driving, so I wasn't lying. Once I got
Well,
lost,
that's any
I'm
right
going to hand
there.
it over to
You know,
you
that
now. So
car
enough
of
banter
his
from
that he
Zara.
loves to drive.
As you can tell, podcasters are podcasters.
I
Right?
am terrible. I am terrible. No, we'll come back to you to tell us about your podcast, Zara, for sure, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
no,
no
thank you. No, you made me laugh. Hello, Jay. Welcome, Jay. The Godfather isn't just a landmark film. No, he's the Godfather of events is a real person, and I'd love to meet people as well. And it was a joy meeting Zara. It really was. You know, I wish if any of you come to UK, let me know. Of course, I come and meet you. Of course, I will. You know, it'd be a shame not to. You know, but no, it does mean me crossing the planet. You know, what 5 hours each way, right? You know, for Zara, I had to leave the night before. I stay at my sister's house, and I was still late. Anyway, look, now this came from my start that things jar me, and when things jar me, I have rooms to release my darkness. That's what these rooms are for. And today is one of those conversations. I'm hoping, of course, it'll be informative, but you know, it is how to put it. It's a way to relieve my pain and to maybe make my pain not happen again. Maybe, you know. So last night, and I'm minding my own business as I do. Something one of my clients messages me and says, "Oh, let's do my poetry book." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do your poetry book. I'll publish it quite happily." I'm like, "But I need some guidance." And she's like, "Oh, well, you have the cover and the content." I'm like, "You are the person I'm talking to today. You're just like, it's not that you don't get it, right? If you know, there's ways to get your book published, and I think very often we as publishers get to beat ourselves up because we publish a book, we do the layout and everything, and the client says, "I don't like it." You're like, "Oh, I'm not very good at publishing." No, it's not. It's not me. It's you. It's you. You didn't tell me what you wanted. Let's use a poetry book as a perfect example, right? Now, there's many different things that have to be decided. You know, what font? What do you want on the pages? Do you want design around the edges or don't you? Do you want big? No, big. No, do you want a picture? Or don't you want a picture? How do you want this? You know, this poetry book to look, for example. You know, here's the reality, my friends. When you work with a small publisher, there's a different reality to working with a big publisher. You know, the traditional publisher, you know, we're on the big fives. You know, the big five, big six, however many you want to count them as. Now, traditional publishers have a way of working. I think people need to understand the difference between those traditional publishers and small publishers, small independent publishers, as we like to call ourselves, right? I'm hoping today is doing my industry a favor. And I'm hoping today will help other small publishers to get what we need to publish a book that you dream of. Because let me tell you, unless you get the handle on this, your book will take longer, and more chances are you're not going to get the book you want. I'm not going to blame myself. We're not going to blame ourselves because it's not on us. You know, maybe there's something about developing a process. You know, but that's the thing. You know, we can develop a checklist, for example, maybe a questionnaire to help you to guide us. But I tend to want to do that in a conversation. And that's our topic today, really, my friends. You know, so I would love to know your experiences of publishing, getting books published. Alexis is one of my super editors. So most of the books that we work with go through Alexis. Again, that's another part of the process of working people like me. Yes, but I'll come back to that in a second. All right, so let's talk. Let's talk to my friends who are here now. Who wants to share? Alexis, I can see you've unmuted. Please, now share with us what can we learn from you? Because obviously you know this industry well enough, right?
Well, I hadn't realized I was unmuted, so here I am. Okay, what can you learn from me about the publishing? Specifically, are you referring to small publishers,
Yeah,
independent, indie? Um,
yeah, yeah.
I
I
think,
suppose maybe
go ahead.
the differences are all the similarities, but there are differences, right? So I think we need people to understand that, and what it's like to work with a small publisher as
Oh,
opposed to a big.
wow. Working with a small publisher could be very positive. Sometimes it depends upon who the publisher is, the editors, or the people that are working in that organization, because I know most small publishers, and there's a lot of them, are indie ones that really put their heart and soul into it, but they don't have the experience. And you have to, as a writer, you have to have an idea of what you want your work to look like, your audience, how you want it, how you want to present it, which usually reflects yourself. And so you want to look for the publisher that has experience, and the people that work with him to produce your work have experience, and they're also creative, but not so creative that, excuse the expression, go rogue on you and start presenting all their own ideas, because you want to walk in concert. And there are a lot of choices within it. If you choose one, you should be able to resonate with the people that you're working with. So that helps get your work out there the way you want it to, the writer. But I think small publishers are really a great way to go versus the traditional. I think traditional are great, and I have worked with a couple as an editor. And while I think it was great, I really prefer the small ones, because while it is business and it's professional, it is more personalized. We all want to see our work published and put out there, and we all have the dream of becoming the #1 bestseller. And also that comes to, also, does the small publisher have marketing experience, and do they have a great marketing plan? And what have they produced that shows you that's the person you want to work with? But I really like the small publishers. It's just has a really good feel for me. So, and that's kind of why I like working with Annie, because he's personable. I know he's very professional, and has all those qualities that you look for. So you know that whatever you produce is going to get out there, and given the best opportunity in marketing after all the production is complete. And the production is amazing, all the elements. So, and that's also why I like small publishers, because experts are there, people who really like what they do, whether, it's with knowing about type fonts or spacing. I mean, to the average person, that sounds boring, but to someone who's been in this business as long as I have, it's extremely exciting. So you want to align yourself with those who know that. So that's about it. So I just really like small publishing. If anybody has any other questions about what I said, go ahead and ask, or not. That's fine. Thank you.
No, thank you. You've hit all the nails in the head. There are many good things about small publishers, but I think the important thing is, you mentioned going rogue. It's a lot of people are surprised by, I guess, our reality, which is that I will not make a decision that is my client's decision to make, and my client has to decide everything. You have to, you instruct us. I wouldn't, my clients are always surprised by the process. Now, my process is long. It's long because I want you to take responsibility for your book. Like I say, if you instruct me, I create the book you tell me to create, and then it's on you what we publish. A lot of people miss those points, Alexis. And it comes down to where you started off. It's your vision that we have to create. It's not my vision. My vision could be anything, right? See, in big traditional publishing houses, my friends, they take your book, they do what they want. If they don't like the content, they'll tell you, well, change the story, add this, add that. Make it more simpler language for a simpler audience, for simpler readers. The cover they will do for you. Everything they'll make decisions on your behalf. After all, they're buying the book off you essentially by giving you an advance. They're buying the book off you. They're buying the rights off you. They buy the intellectual property off you. Really, as a small publisher, I don't own any of those things. It's yours. You have to learn to instruct us properly. That's my gripe today. Dr. Yvonne, are you surprised, or is it this all these things you knew already?
Honestly, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
perfectly.
because I have on a new head thing. Um, Honestly, Annie, I am thrilled because I don't know very much. Um, I've been approached 3 times to write a book. And the reason I want to be in on this conversation is because I want to learn more. And I'm excited about our potential project. I'm excited about the process. So I'm going to learn. That's what I'm going to do today. And then add my little 2 cents in as I see things that I would like to add to the conversation. But I need
Awesome.
to learn more.
Awesome. I think that, of course, we will need to learn, right? So, I thank you for being here. I can't wait to get started on the books about Let's Beat Toxic Relationships. That's our
I have
mission.
I have that in my heart, but the other part of me um, is the journey, because I feel like I've lived a million lives in one, and they were good for the most part. But I would love very much to write something also based on real life, but sort of fiction. I don't know what you would call that, but something like that, because I think that I've had an interesting run so far. So I'm excited. I want to get to the first one and I want to see how far that goes. I have a cousin, Dr. Tarika Smith Mercedes, and she is I think it's 6 books, bestseller, but hers are all based on religion, except the first book was based on a very horrific time that happened in her life when she was 9 that the whole family didn't even know about. And that was her coming out book, and it ranked really high in New York bestseller, but I didn't even know that she was a writer that way. But yeah, I'm excited. I want to see where I end up.
Yeah, well, I remember you saying, I don't know if I want to write a book. I'm like, you do. You really do. You got stories to tell. You remember that day? I'm sure you remember that day, Dr. Yvonne. I'm like,
Of
by the time
course I do.
we
Yes,
finished the phone call, I think we had a list of 5 books that we could write, that you could write.
yes. So
So
excited.
exciting times, exciting times. So you know, so you know, there's much to learn on the journey, and you know, and it is a journey. So I say I think we have to appreciate that. You know, so I'm working on someone's book right now, and you know, when's it going to be done? I'm like, if we're done by October, I'll be very surprised. You know, some people take 25 years to write a book. Some take 10 years to write a book. Some take even longer, right? You know, it's a journey, and along the journey we learn for sure. You know. Oh, well, let me go to Zara. Zara, how are you doing? Come back, Zara. You can stay off camera if you want. Zara, are you there? You're muted. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Zara's moved for a second. Mr. Calm. You know, I say your name is remarkable because you are that calm person, Michael. Talk to us, Michael. I struggle with calm. Michael, have we lost you? And welcome, Dr. Roxana. Welcome, Dr. Roxana. Glad you're here. Safi, the amazing virtual artist. Thank you for joining us as well. I do appreciate it. My friends, if you're here, drop us a comment. I will know you're here, or I know you're here, but I won't know who is here. Otherwise, you know, so of course, my biggest joy in this event is that my friends connect with each other. So I'm sure I've shared the link in the comments. I'm sure I have. The link to join the studio. If you do want to join, then just go to the event page and click on the link on there. Otherwise, the link is in this comment feed. I'm looking up. Yeah. Okay, right. So the link is in the comments. I can see it there. You know, so otherwise, now you're welcome to join. So the link is in the comments, in the chat here, and you can just click on or copy that and paste the link into your browser, and then you'll be in the studio. As long as you enable your mic or your camera, I can bring you up and hear some of your thoughts. Yeah, right. Now, so I've mentioned some of, I guess, people's expectations. As Alexis mentioned, there's no point in me beating up on the traditional publishers. They have a way of working, and they do what they do. There's a reason they do what they do the way they do, right? And I said, primarily, you know, the big publishers would pay you to take your book off your hands. You know, they have systems, channels, people to get your book done and to get your book out. You know, but then I said their goal ultimately is to make money from your book, which is fair enough. That's their business, right? Yeah, and I guess the more they pay you, the longer it takes you to get your money back. But their interest is to sell that book, so they will do whatever that requires. You know, these days, you know, so I got a friend who used to work for a big publisher, and she says most things that those big publishers do is AI driven. So someone doesn't look at your book, and they put it through the AI systems, and the AI system tells them, one, whether you're going to be a seller, whether people are actually interested in your topic, and then the AI tool will tell them what your book needs to be more popular, which is fair enough, right?
And you can ask me a question.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, I do voiceovers, right, for books, for authors. And one thing I've noticed is there is no human flow when you are reading a book that's been written by AI. So, as you know, I teach English in the Middle East, and I work with people who are, you know, in Guatemala or in Spain or in Germany. And a lot of the contracts I receive are people who are wanting to learn the connotations, the knacks of how English people speak. When you're reading a book based on AI, it sounds very like it's like a march. There is no humanization out of it. So if someone puts into AI, they can pay what, £14.99 a month, and they put in the title, I want to speak about myself, and they can put in, you know, the link of, okay, this is me on LinkedIn, this is me on Podchaser, this is me on whatever, This is me online. There's an article. You add that all up and you get given, because I tried it. The reason I tried it is because yesterday I got given a project that was an English language book for kids learning English in Japan. And the person that gave me the project said to me, this is what we're looking for. And I said, okay. So I sent a sample of, a voiceover, as you do. She said, oh, you'd be perfect. And I began to read this book, and I thought, okay, so it's perfectly written, beautifully written, but there is no emotion behind it. So although AI provides the tool to help, I think people like yourself, Annie, gives the humanistic effect. You need a human to understand what you're trying to portray. It's not about, how can I put it? Reading the voiceover and thinking, oh yeah, I'm making money off this, it's okay, is one thing. But reaching people who are not AI, because I don't think there's any AI people around, but reading a book for a human to understand the language is one thing, and reading a book through AI to make money is one thing. People connect in emotions. They don't connect in logic. They connect in emotions. But that's what I wanted to say, Annie. So it's very difficult when you are trying to do what exactly? When you're trying to work with what you have, with the book that you create, with who you are as a person. You want to hear realness. You want to hear people who, speak about their project, speak about their vision, speak about their mission. You don't want to hear AI reading a book for a voiceover for a company that's written by AI. Makes you feel like, am I doing this for the clout, or am I doing this because I want to connect? So connection is not by using tools that are there, but it's by being your authentic self. To understand, if you're going to write a book and you want to write a book and you have a title, speak from your heart, because most people forget their heart is the only thing that connects them to their mind. If my heart tells me this is what I need and this is who I need to become, my mind will follow. But if my mind takes me somewhere else, my heart will say, stay, calm down, relax, or whatever. But AI is logic. We as people are humans who understand that it's very important to have a book. I read the book of Tao. Tao has two different books. There's an adult book and there's a children book. And Taoism has this philosophy of, one of the philosophies is about nature. Now, nature says to you, you exist as you are. And the world says to you, you exist by who you want to think, in terms of, if I come to you as myself fully, you may show up or you may not. But if I cared about how the river ran or how it rained and the rain did what the rain did, then I would be human, right? So the thing I was saying, Annie, earlier on is this. If you're going to put a book through AI, I'm not reading it. I'm not going to read it as a voiceover. And I read a lot of books, and Annie knows that I do. I read a lot of books because people say to me, oh, you read so much about Taoism, about this, about that. But yeah, don't run a book through AI, because, I'm an English language teacher and I can see it from a mile away. And I'm sure every other person can. But Annie is the very first person you should go through, because he speaks from heart, not from mind. And that's what everyone needs to understand. Thank you, Annie, for giving me this time to talk. And I will hand the mic over to you, my lovely.
Thank you for sure. Thank you. Keep telling them, Zara. Keep telling them. No, look. I think I suddenly realized, as a voiceover artist, that's probably the best way to call it. You are in the world of my world and the world of Alexis. So people don't see what you just said. Alexis and I, we're talking last night. I'm like, Alexis, I'm freaked out. Some books, they're impossible because they're AI written and we can see it a mile away. But it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make it sounds professional, it sounds clean, it sounds correct. But books are not written by being correct necessarily. It's a narrative. It's your story that we want to read, your experience. And when someone gives us, gives us a book that doesn't look like a human written book, and there's a difference, a huge difference. It bamboozles us. It scares the hell out of me. It scares the hell out of me, and literally, I almost panic. But I'm saying, but my blessing is Alexis. I gotta say, she's the editor, and I'm like, Alexis, do you see what I see? And she normally says yes. I see what you see. Because it just doesn't. The book has to be more human. Go on.
Question: have you had people come to you and say to you, "This is my book," and they've used AI?
Yes, that's what I mean. And I panic because everything feels odd, which means I can't get my head around how's this book gonna look? How's this book gonna sound? How's it I don't know. Where's the humanity in this book? And because I know they're gonna look at me later on. Look, AI written books tend to be very like bullet pointy or listy. That's simply that's the only way I can say it, right? It sounds very straight to the point, and here's how, here's what, here's why, here's how, and that's it. But that's not what.
Have you read the book called Rules of Life? It's blue. It's got like a blue front. That was the first AI book that was written by AI. The first one.
How does it come across?
Very page upon page. But The Alchemist, he went in search of love. And there's so many mistakes in it. As an English language teacher, you can look at the grammar and where the points is. But if anybody reads the Rules of Life, you can see. So read the Rules of Life and read Annie's book. Annie's book is Lessons Through COVID. I can't even see it anymore.
So lessons that we learned from COVID. You're getting older, Zara.
Oh my God,
I can't tell you that, no.
No, but when I wear glasses, I look like a journalist. So
nothing wrong with wearing glasses. I got my glasses there. So
put your glasses on, then.
No. I can't see. I can see normally. I can't see small print. So my glasses, they're magnifying glasses, and I can't see small stuff anymore. I could before, not anymore, right? But then I said that there is a thing, about AI written books, which is a real problem. So, so like I said, my blessing is Alexis, who will tell my beloved author, you have to rewrite this book in a way that makes sense, in a way that reads. Safi, I agree with you. We aren't robots. AI makes everything sound generic. That's exactly it, Safi. That's exactly it. A good book has your experiences. Jay says I have transformation moments, which is the moment when you learnt that thing, when you suddenly realize that thing, whatever that thing is. There's a moment in time where a series of things happened, and then suddenly you're like, oh, that's the lesson I'm meant to learn. That's the point. And AI writing books don't have those points. They just haven't got those transformation moments. They're just factual. But they're not even factual. What's fact? It's an argument we could have all day, right? They have the information, but people want to read what you've learned. Say when you learned it, and everything is nuanced. AI doesn't have that nuance. It doesn't nuances anywhere near that. They just say here's how it is, as if there's only one way, right? But nothing is that way. Everything is, I'm here speaking, my friends are here speaking based on their experiences. And our books will be based on our experiences. Mistakes and all. That's mistakes in terms of maybe, it's not maybe. our books have to be different to everything else that's been written. What AI is going to do is give you exactly what's been written before, what the world what we think the world knows.
The
You know, so,
algorithm, yes.
yeah, so it's your uniqueness, it's your personal experience, your personal journey, as we even mentioned, that will make a difference to you. That makes your book different and better than others, more helpful to your readers. You know, and it's so easy. You know, it's easy to do a book from AI. It really is. But you know, so once a reader knows, they tend to have what I call buyer's remorse. They're like, ah, damn, I've been mugged off. I've been fooled.
Any question? I read a self-help book that was on Amazon, right? And you know, my mother has a book that only has 24 pages.
Mm,
And I read the self-help book, and I realized one thing, that AI cannot tell you how to feel,
mm,
but
mm.
books that are written by incredible people, like you say, Alexis is your author. Hi, Michael. Dr. Yvonne has run off, but
No, 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 no,
No,
no,
I'm here. I'm
oh,
here.
so
I was gonna say something though. I was gonna
oh,
say I loved what you just said. Like, I don't know. I think this is gonna be a love fest between you and I. I don't know. I agree with everything you said about the great, magnificent Annie. This is gonna be a love fest for Annie today. I don't know, Annie. Maybe you should have changed the title to this. Okay, I'm off now.
but Annie, like I was saying, thank you, Dr. Yvonne. Like I was saying, I have had so many people approach me and say to me, "Oh my God, your mother's book is on Amazon and it's only £1.99, right?" But imagine during COVID, my mother wrote this book about learning through life, and she made a lot of money during COVID. And this other book that I read, you know, I know the author personally because she said to me, "Oh, I'm going through AI. Can you proofread it for me?" Because people tend to ask people who read a lot, "Can you proofread?" Or English teachers, "Can you proofread?" And when you're proofreading a book that has already been published on Amazon, you think to yourself, should I be honest or should I be brutal? And people don't like brutal, but Zara does. I love brutality. I cannot deal with the whole riff-raff of stuff. I'm not dealing with that. I'm dealing with why are flies in my house? Anyway, imagine any. I'm not dealing with any of that. I am I don't fizzle. Like we don't fizzle. So when someone sends me a book that they have published on Amazon and they're really proud of 3 sales, okay, well done. There's £25. Probably your mother, your father, and your brother bought it. But here's the thing that people don't understand. If you are going to sell from your heart, sell from your heart. Don't hold back, because my mother's book, although, you know, she's from Sudan and English is a second language, she wrote it in English. And I told you, Annie, she's got like loads of, she used to send me voice notes and she'd be like, "Zara, can you write it so people can understand?" I say, "Mommy, people don't need to understand me. They need to understand you, because it's your book and your journey and your life of meeting a random ginger man in the desert as a nomad, and you wished for him to be, and your book covers that, and there's pictures of, you know, our grandparents and our great grandparents and our heritage. People connect with that more. £1.99 is nothing, but £1.99 shared between what, like, so if I have a family of 9, let's say, £1.99, I buy books for Christmas from Amazon. I'm going to buy a book for 1.99 that's emotionally maturing, better than I would buy an AI book, because I'm not paying £30 for an AI book. I can go on AI and say, "How do you think I feel today?" You know, and I've noticed, this is the thing I've noticed, Annie. And today I'm taking up the show. I'm so sorry. This is Annie's show, not mine. But anyway, Annie, I'm doing it back to you like you did on the podcast we had. But like, imagine, I do not understand why people, when they reach particular stages in their life, they're like, "Oh, let's just write a book." No, You don't need to just write a book because it will make you money. What you need to be is real, because rarity and niches don't exist anymore. Everyone is a copycat. Every single person is a copycat. Okay, so if I need a problem solved, I can go to AI. If I need to understand why my partner's being the way that is, I can go to AI. But a book gives you that comfort to understand, like, this author, because you're reading it based on how you feel at that moment. You're reading it based on, like Annie's books, and Annie publishes, and Annie is the editor, and Annie does what Annie does. But Annie is an incredible person, because Annie, you can see when someone is real and when someone isn't, and you pull them out on it. And books do that. If you do not like to read, don't read unless it comes from your heart. So I'd like to conclude with that. Anyway, bye, Annie.
Thank you again. I really thank you. Let me welcome Dr. Melissa Houston, and a real human and a true legend. To say it's wisdom. I think we chase for sure, Zara. And wisdom is what we're trying to put in our books. 24 pages. That works for Amazon. It's perfectly fine. 24 pages. That is, 20. I think you need 24 pages on Amazon internal pages to publish a book, a print book. Even an ebook can be a lot shorter. I don't know,
but it was $7,000 she made from those 24 pages. So
that's the way. That's the way, right? No, she's smart. That's more than smart. More than most people make from the big books, right? Michelle, we found you, Michelle. You're back. She said, "Hey, stranger, I'm glad you're here, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us." If anyone has a Lyft gift card, let me know, please. I don't know what Lyft is. LYFT. It's an American platform, I think. So if anyone knows what I'm talking about.
That's like Uber.
Okay. Do you have one, Michael?
I Uber. I do not Lyft.
Don't Lyft. It just sounds so wrong. No. Anyway, it's a British thing. Ignore us.
But Annie, I didn't realize that Calm was Michael. And earlier on, I was listening to Michael.
Yes, it's changed his name to Calm. Even on LinkedIn, it's changing. Go on, Michael. You tell her. Tell
me, Michael.
Tell her why, Michael.
Zara, I'm so cool. I'm so calm. Call me calm, because I'm so cool.
Or you can call him Malcolm, or you call him Michael. So Michael and
Nah, you don't call me Michael. Don't call me Malcolm. Call me calm.
That's how you get.
You're retraining everybody else.
Well, Calm, you can call me the Storm, because I am the Storm.
Michael,
I love that.
Michael, calm down.
Oh my God! Hello, Cyrus. Hi. Hello, lovely. Hi.
How's it going, guys?
What you talking about? Phenomenal.
How's it going, Carl? You all right?
Safi live. Safi does live. I'm excited.
I have 5 minutes, right? So I just wanted to say I love you guys. That's all I wanted to say. That's all.
So Cyrus's book is coming along nicely. So Alexis is working on it as we speak. So Brandon, as we speak.
Absolutely. It is in good hands. It is in good hands. Can I say something about writing books though before I go?
Yeah, please.
I was going to say I've seen a lot of people writing books to sell the book. But please don't write a book to sell it. A book sells itself anyway. So if your intention is to put all of your effort and energy in and sell a book, you're wasting your energy and time, of course. The book, as they say, the book is the hook, right? So the book should be used for selling something bigger. So selling your services, selling a concept, right? So a book is like a sample of whatever's happening inside your head. You giving them instead of inviting people to like 15 minutes coffee whatever coffee breaks or whatever they call it. Give them the book, invite them, and get them to step into your head for a few hours rather than a few minutes. So give them the opportunity to find out what you're on about and what you are about. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
That ties into what Zara was saying about AI written books. And I love the way you say it. You know, it is what's in your head. You know, it's what goes on in you. You know, what you think about, what you know, what you've seen. That's what a good book is, right, Cyrus? You know, so, you know, I suppose, let's come back to, to my point today, Cyrus. And I say, we're working together. I guess. What's the experience? How would you describe the experience compared to what you expected? Number one, and how do you believe is the same or different to a big publisher? You know, like Penguin, one of those big houses, or called traditional publishers. Have you? Does that even cross your mind? Have you thought of how it might be the same or different?
Yeah. So your service is fantastic, and it's not. I didn't go with Penguin because they are wobbly. I'm joking. I went with you, Benny, because I've known you long enough. Like it's been a couple of years now. And is it different to what I expected? No, it's not, because I had good knowledge, and I've done my due diligence. So I wasn't going to be surprised in any shape or form. I mean, negatively in any shape or form. I knew what I was going to get. I had clarity. I knew you were the man for the job. And I didn't go with corporations, and I wouldn't call them big companies, and put you in the medium size or small size companies. And at the end of the day, big or medium or small size, they are to do with the member of staff that the company has, not the quality of the work that they render. So the quality that I'm getting, your editors are amongst the best. I trust you. You're amongst the best people I know on LinkedIn, and it was a relationship, and it still is a relationship of trust. And that's how my clients work with me as well. So they know me, they know what I'm on about, they know what I'm about, and then they establish a relationship with me. So
Yeah.
It's all about trust. That's all I'm saying.
I love that, Cyrus. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I'm gonna have to love you and leave you. Take good care of yourselves. Bye.
Take care, you too. Have a good day, my friend. Have a good day. I'm sure we'll talk later. Take care. You know, so it is that relationship thing that Cyrus talked about that you get from a small company. I don't mind saying I'm small, because I think I like the idea. I like the reality that we are personable. You know, it's a personal relationships that we build with all our clients. So that's the advantage of being a small business. You know, if you're a small business, you can flex, you can adapt, you can do. I always preach about my clients doing what the client wants. Sometimes it's not even what we say we do. Now, I talk a lot about what I call unreasonable hospitality. It's a book. And so it's a book that basically says, delight your clients and focus on delighting each client, whatever that takes. You know, if you haven't been to my room to hear me, wangle on about unreasonable hospitality, then essentially the story is that it's a posh restaurant. It's the writer James. James. He runs a posh restaurant, one of the top restaurants in New York, I'm sure. And customers came in and they bought the expensive food. They enjoyed the food. They loved the food. The food's what it is, right? But then one of them lamented because it's the last night in New York and they hadn't had a hot dog off a hot dog stand. Now, a posh restaurant, a hot dog is just disgusting in their minds. But he took it upon himself to get someone to go out and buy a hot dog for this family. Yes, it was dressed up as like a posh hot dog, so how to do. No, small things on big plates and sprinkling of God knows what, right? So it looks presentable. You know, so and the family essentially they pretty much burst into tears in joy. That's that's the level of personness I think we have to aim for, whoever we are. That's our advantage. Big companies take a long time to agree processes and systems and whether we can do this or not. A small business like us, we have to, we can do whatever the client wants. That's how we're going to get more clients, because that client tells other people. They get to understand how we're unique, how we really are like as great as we say we are, and then their friends come, more of their friends, they refer us more to the network, and so we grow. It can look slow at the beginning, but suddenly, once you gain momentum, you're going right, almost unstoppable. And what we have is loyal clients. Look, Cyrus, I appreciate your kind words as well. Of course, I do, right? And yes, I'm blessed to have a team that people at Alexis that we work with. Who I can truly when I recommend Alexis, when I connect my author friends with Alexis, I know what they're gonna get, and I stake everything on that, because look at the reality. If Alexis doesn't do what she says she does, if she wasn't as good as she is, as amazing as she is, I would lose clients. And some editors do lose me clients because they don't think the way we do, right? That's why, so I have to make, every time I recommend someone and say, go and talk to Alexis, she'll sort your book out for you. I know what I'm saying, and I stake my whole, I stake my relationship with that client on that reality. Alexis will do what she does, and she'll do an amazing job always. It's by making your book better, really. So if we go now, Cyrus also mentioned the fact that your book opens doors. This room is called Book to Business for a reason. Your book is your business card. It's your calling card. So if the whole point is that if you give your potential clients, if you give your prospects your book to read, I'm not saying give it free. I say if they read your book, they will get an insight into who you are, why they can trust you, why they want to do business with you. That's how most people, that's what most people use their first book. It doesn't mean you have to only your first book can be your door opener, but literally, using your book to get more clients is probably more profitable, assuming that you sell high value products and services, than trying to sell more books. So I've got many friends who published a book, and I'm like, why have you done that? Because it shows a credibility. It trains the client in your model, your way of being, your way of working. But by the time they knock on your door and say, please help me, Dr. Yvonne, please help me, Safi, they know what you do, they know who you are, they know how you work, they know what to expect from you. So as this conversation goes, so my point is that many people don't know how small publishers work, and they need to learn how small publishers work. Because if you don't know how we work, you're not going to understand how to get the best out of us. So I mentioned earlier that publishers, we want to give you what you want. Of course, we want to give you what you want. But we can't do it by ourselves. We need you to play your role. So let me show you a quick video just to give you an idea of what we do. Safi, I'll come back to you on the lift thing in the DMs. Thank you so much. So Safi does lifts. Is there a lift in the UK, Zara? I don't know. Zara, is there a lift in the UK? No, there isn't, is there? We'll have an Uber. That's about it, right? But let me show you a video quick about what it's like to do business with a small publisher as opposed to a big publisher. I don't know why I cut the video in the wrong place, but actually you get the point. So listen from the beginning, my friends. That way you don't miss important things. Okay, start. The point, the big point is right at the beginning. That's the point. That's what I'm trying to say to you. It's a minute and a half ish, so let's go for it.
And all your questions are answered. There's a lot of input into how the cover is going to look. Just every element of the book, you have a lot of control that you would lose with, say, a large New York publisher. I love that personal touch. I'm a control freak, so having input into every element was wonderful for me. Some of the drawbacks are that the distribution channels are not as large. We do have a distributor. We're not what you'd call self-published. It is, you're eligible for IPI and that sort of thing. She also, one benefit is that she enters the book into the big independently published contests, which is wonderful. So you don't have to do that work for yourself. But another drawback is most of the publicity work, most of the travel. I did do a tour with my book, and that was completely on my own dime. And I just happened to have, because I own my own company and my husband is very supportive, we got in the car and we went around to several cities where I knew people and they could help me get in the bookstores and that kind of thing. We went around and did a book tour, but that was really independent of Twisted Road, other than the moment I booked something, she was sending the books. And she did book me in a few places and, like I said, entered me into contests, so that was great.
I really do. I think it's a good view into how small publishers especially work. Yeah, and look, big publishers, I said, they've got their place. And if I'm paying you to buy your book off you, that's what an advance is really. Because, I pay you good money, potentially a few thousands, but you have to pay those thousands back in book sales. So your initial book sales it's my money as a publisher. I don't do that service. So someone came to me once and he's like, "I've got a great book." I'm like, "Really? Okay, man. Let's talk. Let me see how I can help you publish a book." And he's like, "How much are you going to pay me for it?" I'm like, That's not how small. That's not. I'm a small publisher. I'm not a big publisher, traditional publisher in that sense. And he got really upset and started talking online. Oh, any doesn't do this, any doesn't do that. I'm like, no, I don't. I do what I do. And it's unreasonable to expect, what big companies do from a small publisher, because that's just not who we are. Today is about you understanding. We want to help you get the book you want. But as the lady said on the video, do you know what you want your book to look like? Do you have a cover design in mind? Do you have any idea what you want the inside page to look like? What do you want the back page to look like? What do you want the spine to look like? These are all things that I will ask you, and I will stop unless you answer my questions. So I've got 3 or 4 books that are stuck because the writers, the authors haven't made decisions. Now, like I say, my process is long. It's long because I want to give you the book you want. That means when you give me a book, first of all, I'll say, go and talk to Alexis. You talk to Alexis. Alexis says, here's the changes you can make to improve the book. Until you do that, if not Alexis, go to your own editor. But essentially, I don't want a book with mistakes. If you have a book with mistakes, it's not my job to correct your mistakes. Editors correct your mistakes. You correct your mistakes. Not me, right? Now, by the time it comes to me, I want it to be correct and good to go. And then, you must tell me how you want the book to look. I had a client recently that she wanted a picture book. I'm like, oh, okay, excellent. Send me the pictures and tell me exactly where they go. I think one day I just got a big dump of pictures. I'm like, okay. So I tried. Oh, no, Safi, no. Look, I have cover designers who will design a cover for you, but you have to give us some guidance, right? You know, say, look, I can charge you more and say to you, we'll give you 5 concept designs of what your cover could be, right? I could charge you for 3 concept designs, which would be a bit less. I can charge you for 1 concept design, which would be low. But no, but that doesn't give you a choice, right? Yeah, so we'll give you concept ideas, what type of cover you could have. And then you have to work with us to refine those concept ideas into the one that you really want, Safi. You know, could you create your own cover? Of course you could. If you got your own cover, by all means. You know, again, when it comes to publishing a book, there's parameters. You know, it's rare that what a client gives us will work on the templates on the bookstores. You know, so for example, and I said, again, I had this recently. The book's nearly done. They also says, "Oh, here's the cover. Yeah, I want this cover instead." I'm like, The problem, the text is at the top and the bottom. I'm like, of course, text, you know, it goes to the sides as well. I'm like, look, there's margins for everything on Amazon. So I need the text to be further down, away from the edges. Otherwise, it gets cut. You know, it gets cut in what they call bleed. No, so if we don't meet those margins requirements, we can't move forward. You know, a bookstore doesn't publish a book that they know that half the word is missing. You know, again, I published an audio book yesterday morning. That's done on Audible, right? They got a whole different dimension for covers for audiobooks. Again, ebooks have their own dimensions. I could tell you what they are. Now, 65 by 1,000. So it's a longer cover than a print book. A print book, it also depends on the book size that you choose. You know, so I'll tend to talk to you, Safi, about what we need to meet the requirements if you bring your own cover, right? And sometimes, look, some covers are just, yeah, it looks good to you, but to the bookstores, it's not going to work. You know, the bookstores, they're very particular because they want the text to stand out from the images, right? They want the text to be readable. You know, so I mentioned Audible just now. You know, they have this thing about the bottom right as I'm looking at the picture. As I'm looking at the screen with your cover, must have no text, nothing on there at all. Why, here you ask? Because they want to put their own thing there. They want to put their own Audible badge there, is what they say. So, you know, when I submit the cover, suddenly there's a big triangle that say nothing in the, you know, just put nothing in that space. So these are all these defined details, but now the cover is very important because the cover is first thing people are going to see, Safi, and it helps to get it done professionally. But if you have your own ideas, then by all means, let's talk, right? You know, someone who knows a lot about cover design is Jay. You know, I say Jay, our storytelling, you know, strategist. You know, so if cover design is something that you might need, want some ideas, talk to Jay. I'm sure he will happily share with you some of his expertise because it does covers for people, right? No, okay. So, sorry, Safi. Let me answer your question. If you get it with a big publisher, can you create your own cover? No, most of the time, not. Their in-house team will create your cover, and they might give you a choice. They won't really look. This is the point today. If you go with a traditional publisher, you are stuck with their decisions. You don't get a say. And you saw that in the video, right? You don't get a say. Whereas if you are what I hope you are, which is that you have a vision for your book, you know how you want it to look, how you want it to sound, how you want it to come across. You know what your readers are going to like, or they want to be attractive to them. A small publisher is much more amenable to your choices. If you're a power control freak, be a power control freak when you come to me. I don't want to decide for you. It's down to you. But the traditional publishers, they know what they want, and they might give you some ideas, but they're gonna go with what they want ultimately, not what you want. Because, like I say, once they pay you in advance, it's their book. Again, if you want total control, no one to say a word to you, self-publish your book, my friend. Self-publish your book. Do it yourself. Do your cover design as you want it, whether it's good or bad. Because it's no one's looking apart from you, right? And after you publish, Amazon will say to you, "Oh, that doesn't work. That doesn't work." Go and redesign and come back and then resubmit. And then you suddenly realize why I mentioned Jay. You suddenly realize why I exist. You suddenly realize why Alexis exists. These are things I will tell you before you move forward, right? Big publishers, you don't get a choice. It's their book. It's their book. That's the point, right? I laugh, more about the irony than the enjoyment of you being tortured, my friends. Say if you want the book you want, come and talk to a small publisher who has a team of people who can do what you want. Again, Sarah's mentioned experience. I don't know whether Alex mentioned it too, right? Some small startups, a startup publisher will charge you less potentially, but do they have the experience to give you the book that you want? It's a question to ask yourself, really. Alexis, you've been far too quiet. I don't know who wants to speak. I don't really mind who speaks, right? So, Calm, what do you want to share with us? I don't think you haven't shared yet because what Sarah's came, you spoke, right? So, Mr. Calm, what are your thoughts on what we shared so far?
I'm learning quite a bit, actually, Annie. I haven't had a book published, and just written some 3,000, 4,000 words, waiting to get that edited, which I'm gonna do myself in conjunction with someone else, um, and and then present it to you and see what you think. Hopefully, you don't come back and tell me that I need to revise it. But that's what, or 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 you might pass it on to, what's her name? Is it Stacy?
Alexis,
Alexis. You might pass it on to Alexis to take
I
a look.
will. I
Which
will,
is
because
most
as a
probably
partner,
what you'll do.
I will.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
That's a guarantee. And I said, no, well, this is Michael's talking about our group book, How I Survived and How I Cheated Death. So it's a group book. So, as a publisher, again, I will endeavor to make sure I guess to a large degree, I have
It passes the
editorial
editing
control.
mark.
Yes. You give me your story, Michael. Like you say, you've had someone look at it, so it's close to being correct. Of course, I
Close
will
to being
give you
perfect.
my ideas. I'll give you my ideas on the process as well,
Hmm.
and then it'll go to an editor like Alexis for sure. Because when we look at our own work, we don't see the obvious.
Good morning.
So we tend to learn, and then. But I think working in a group book is always a good way to learn. So a good way to see what the whole publishing process is like. And again, I'll say this: if you work with a small publisher, you learn the process. You learn to become a better writer. I really think you do, because it's on you to get it right. Now you actually get to touch most of the parts of the process. It's when you go to a big traditional publishing house that everything is taken off your hands. The editors will make the changes they want. They might come back to you, but most of them just change what they want. If a traditional publishing house comes back to you and says, "Change this," if you don't change it, your book never gets published. I'm saying that's a difference. If they say we want the book to sound like this, to look like this, and you say then your book would it get stuck in the process. That maybe that's a similarity between us and them, small publishers and big publishers. Alexis, I see you're unmuted.
Yes. Uh, First of all, I want to say I've listened to, I think it's Zara, and I just agree with her on so many levels. I think
You disagree or you agree?
I agree. Oh no, I
Okay.
agree. Oh, good grief. No, I don't disagree. And nuances, and that's exactly where I think it is. It's with AI, you do not get nuances. You get things just grabbed from the universe or how it's been put there by people from resources, many resources. A lot of the small publishers, when it comes to book covers, the large, the traditional ones have their in-house artists, if you want to put it that way. They're artists, and they usually use their own concepts. They will listen to you, they will look at the book, but usually it is recommended by the editor. You know, it just goes through channels and how they want it to look, which they feel would sell the most. In some small publications, they have choices. They only have certain choices, which either they've created or now could have been created by AI. And so you get those choices, which they believe will best reflect your book and marketing and sales, but what they're hearing from you. And it may not resonate. I think the best way to go with the book cover is if you have an idea, if you've done a rendering, okay, you could say, well, I kind of want it to reflect this. But the in-house person helps you create that, what you want. They just make it, I think, a little sharper, a little better. As for when someone writes a book, and I've run into this so many times, and they go, well, I'm not going to hire an editor and pay for it. I'm going to have someone look at it, a second set of eyes, and I'm working with someone like that. They keep having so many different people look at it who are not editors. Or sometimes they will go to a small house and there's a package, and they'll, part of it is the editing, and they'll to get that, it won't be as personalized or in depth. So let's say they do that, and then they bring it to yourself or someone like me. And what I have found, usually the people that they've brought it to, and this is just from experience, either have missed the voice. I believe in nuances and voice. I listen to your voice. If it's a business product and service targeted to your market audience, marketing audience, if you know, whatever it is, it's reflecting your voice. So how is it written in the vernacular? Is it written, what is the dialect? You know, the industry. And so when you bring it to someone and you pay maybe a very, you know, the package, or just someone that you think, well, they studied English or grammar, or they're really good at writing, doing this, you get their point of view, but they're going to tell you how brilliant it is. And of course, we all say that to each other. That keeps us going. But they're going to look at it that, and they're not going to give you, in most cases, the corrections, that grammar, punctuation, the voice, presentation. They're not going to get it ready for the publisher. And usually they become disappointed because maybe they're trying to avoid expense. And I've heard that so often. You can't cut corners when it comes to your book. I know we all have budgets, but you have to have it looked at professionally through different angles, not just the editor, but the publisher, the marketer, the person who may be doing your artwork. And you want to make sure it reflects not only your voice, but is presented in a way that brings out your voice and the flavor of the book that you're trying to convey. And that's just so important. And myself, I've been doing this for over 30 years and worked in various genres and just with different kinds of people. And that's my experience. You really need a professional to do it. And I don't know, I do know that some of those package deals, most of the people that have used them are highly disappointed, and they just end up spending more money, and it takes more time to get your book completed and out to the public or whoever your audience is. So those are just some of my thoughts, and like I said, based on experience.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Joni, I see you working. Give me a second, Joni. No, I said I totally agree with you, Alexis. I think it's not. I think it's always worth going to professionals who can do what they do, right? And professionals come at different levels. And I don't. So I'm not saying go and pay top money for everything. So you can find someone at the level that at which you're willing to pay. Having people that your friends and family are gonna think, I don't want to criticize them too much. So they won't give you everything. They won't tell you all the things that could be wrong, right? And let me tell you, there's nothing worse than getting your book published and there's mistakes in it. Readers, I don't know, think of yourself. I don't know, how do you react when you see a typo in a book? It distracts you. It puts you off. It gets you thinking something, and you're thinking, where's the next one? Where's the next one? Where's the next one? Where's the next one? And suddenly you're not following your story. You're now thinking, this book has to. If you're and God help you, God help me if you find another typo. Because now you're thinking, where's the next one? Now you're stuck, right? You're thinking, look, I've seen professional books, I've written by big authors with typos, and it distracts me the same way. I'm thinking, did you really write this book? No, is this really a Stephen King book? Is it really? You go and buy the books, and you see that there's typos in some of them. You're like, wow, that's amazing, right? And I think the point you make, Alexis, also editors they do many different things. It's not just spelling and grammar that they're correct. Now the consistency in the voice you mentioned, Alexis, and I say, well, one of my clients I'm working with right now, she says a lot of so I'm like, so I'm trying to edit those out of the transcript. Trying to move those on and use other words to sort of join sentences. But even then I've left some of that. There's all of us have a unique way of being, of speaking. And I don't want to take all of those out. There's some editors, like Alexis says, they will take out everything that is not them. So choosing an editor is not just someone who's going to do your spelling and your grammar. Someone who's going to let you have your tone of voice. And that is so important, because then your readers would know it's you. Because your next book will have the same way of being, same way of speaking, right? So choose carefully, choose very carefully. Michael, I think there's a good point Alexis made, which is easy to miss. Embrace the editor's feedback. Really, embrace the editor's feedback every time. Now, the way I look at it is simply to say the editor is there to make your book as good as it could be for the readers. That's what you want. That's what I want. So when an editor comes back to you and says, you might want to make these changes, that's all they ever say. They won't say, go do this because I said so. You might want to make these changes to make your book better. Say yes and look at all of them. Sometimes the post editor changes is the hardest part of the book. Some people just get all disappointed, they get all upset. Oh, I've been criticized. No, we're trying to help you make a better book. Calm down and just say like, look at the changes that's been recommended and decide, do I go with it or do I not? If you know, and then but do it diligently, do it meticulous, and make sure that you're not rejecting suggestions because your pride is hurt. You're rejecting suggestions because it's not in line, doesn't align with what you were thinking and what you have in mind. That's what I'll say for sure. Thanks a lot, Alexis. Let me welcome Richard. Welcome, Richard. Thank you for joining us. Look, if you don't know who Richard is, do connect with him. He has many to say. He does post a newsletter. Now, Richard is behind many of the technologies that we use today. I've read much of his writings. Of course, I've met him as well. So, I've met him especially at events that we're doing, audio rooms that we're doing a while ago. The man's it's a tech genius. So do connect with him and do hear what he has to say. Thanks for joining us, Richard. Joni, you made it. You made it. Where have you been, Joni? Yeah, the mic is yours, Joni.
Hi, I've been working like real work to make it.
Well, painting places, getting places painted. That sort of work.
We're rehabbing a very large home that belonged to a celebrity in Lake Forest. He doesn't live there, but we're rehabbing it, and so I've been on site, so it's about an hour away from me, and yeah, I've been doing that and doing the rest of my life, and this is my joy. I love doing these podcasts with you, and so I try to make time in my day.
So no, you're here. I'll take it. So all of us have to live a life, right?
You always talk about make that money, monetize, monetize, monetize. So sorry if I get a way to make some money, I gotta monetize. Anyways, I was just joined in to really support you, but I find this topic super interesting because I think that there are so many wonderful people out there who may not want to write a book, but they are really good at editing. And so if you look through Upwork, or I don't know what akin would be in, London, or, South Africa or Nigeria, but they do a really good job at looking through your book and making sure you don't have any mistakes. And it's not expensive. And I think that's a really important part of the process. For me now, I am on my third book. I have not published anything either. So I'm like, obviously I take on too much, but I also love having things put out with my name on it that are good. And so there are people like who, for fractions on the dollar, who will review your pictures, who will review your words, and do it. Just do it. Don't I had a friend who was a LinkedIn friend, who just was like, literally like, AI, write my book, AI, write my book. And she thought it was fucking fudging dope. And that I was like, no, like that's not a book. That's like, that's not even your words. Like, do your own words, get some help, and then go to a reputable person who can put your book out, aka Annie, who will help you with the navigation of marketing. So it's a lot more to write a book and get it out there versus writing a book and having a stack of papers on your desk, which is okay too. That I'd be proud of you for doing that. So, anyways, I just want to say hi to all my friends out there, and that's it.
Good to see. I'm glad you're back in our world, Joni. But again, it's true. Don't if you got your book on your computer doing nothing on your shelf gathering dust on paper. No, the world needs to hear your stories, my friends. The world needs to hear your stories. We can't learn
Yes.
from you unless you actually publish the books, right?
And
So
that's like a huge chunk, right, Danny? Like
yeah,
that's huge that you did that. That's amazing. You don't want to end up like Emily Dickinson with just like her paper like filled around her body and she just died in her paper.
don't be that person. Don't be
She
that
was
person.
just
Look,
amazing writer. And then you're just like, what? Nothing. So don't be
it's,
that way. Don't. But it does take more than you for the most
yes,
part.
yeah. No. Look, it's work. I mean, if you've done the work, let's get it out there for sure. So of course, the point you make about editors, like I said, there's an editor for your budget, whatever that budget is. Now, I don't want. You have to see what happens if you come to me with a book of errors. We published a book. You look at it, your friends look at it, like, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Now you got two choices. Let your book live with the shame and put readers off, or correct the book and then come back to Annie and say, please republish the book, which I can do, because again, a traditional publisher will not allow that process to happen, right? They're normally not too huge mistakes. Sometimes there's mistakes sometimes, but would they republish your book? Oh, that's a big thing. A small publisher like me will say, okay, fine, let's republish the book. I can upload your book in as many versions as we choose. Like if you say, I can upload version 2 to replace version 1 on Amazon, for example. As long as you don't make as long as it's not significant rewrites, Amazon will say yes, same book. Amazon may well, if the bookstores say it's fundamentally a different book, then we just call it issue 2 or 3 or 4. I'm saying it can't be done with a small publisher. A big publisher will not accept your book of errors. Now you'd be in trouble. And of course, big publishers take longer than we do. So we are a small publisher will turn your book around, assuming you've done the work. Do the work. Safi, I see you. Reads is another platform where I think they'll read your book for you, right? It is. I think it's getting that habit, Journey, of trusting what we call beta readers.
Yeah.
People to read your book before you go and publish. There's many platforms out there.
For a lot of us, it's trial and error. And so you have tried out different sites that there are a lot of scam sites. So you just be aware of that. But I think if you put pen to paper or fingers to the computer board or voice to your phone notes, it really means something, and you should get that out. It's important, and it is a wonderful thing that you did. But just know that that's the big step. That's your words. That's your legacy. That's whatever you did. But you choose the right people to support your team. It's just like, if you're going to join a football club, like you want the right trainers behind you. You want the right marketers behind you. You want the right team. So that's all.
I think it's a good point to make, Joni. Thank you so much. But I suppose, Joni, in the books that you have coming, I guess we work together. Is are you surprised by the amount of choices you have to make, or is that what you expected?
Oh gosh, so surprised. No, so surprised.
I love,
I mean, goodness,
I love your honesty. I love your honesty. I really do.
so surprised. So there, I have a cookbook that I wrote with my mom's recipes and some of my own. And some of them are similar to other famous chefs' recipes. And so it's like infringement. And so I take them out. Like the green sauce in Paris, I take it out. And that stinks because it's one of my favorite things that I have figured out. Um, but yes, and then for my dinosaur book for kids, like it was hard to figure out the artistic expression because I not wanting to be like a full illustrator. So I used AI and they turn out wonderful, but then I learned there can be some implications because kids are like, what? That's AI. And so, yes, there's challenges. And then with my memoir, which was really for me as a cathartic way to get through a bad time in my life. I don't, I have thought and thought and thought about it because more things have happened to you, like after you finish a book, especially a memoir. Like, what do I include? What do I take out? Because some of it can be damaging to my family, and I'm not exactly in that place anymore. And so there is a lot. But I have really learned the most valuable lesson is, work with people you trust, who you could like go like, yo, you there? You there? It's not someone like, from a foreign country who really does not have a lot of insight into who you are. So that's a really good lesson I learned.
Yeah, no, thank you. Again, there's a lot you say there that we can all learn from. So thank you so much, Joni. It's so look, when it comes to real life stories, fiction versus non-fiction, right? Again, Joni say the huge point is, do you really want to name names? Are the names because I guess one way of thinking is that the name, the person is not important. It's the story that's important. It's the points that you want to make back to that the experience that's important. So there's different ways that you can obviously write a book and tell your stories without naming names, or you can even change the names. Use pseudonyms, use other names. Of course, I'm not going to hide it from you. If the person you're talking about reads the book, they would know it's them. That's likely. Dr. Yvonne mentioned earlier, about how about her thinking of writing her life story. You can write in the third person, and you can add a bit of fiction. So if you're writing, you're not writing as you. This happened to me. I saw, I did, and I felt. You can write as if it's a fiction story. That's the writing in the third person, right? So it's not you. You're writing about someone, about you. I know what I just said, right? That gives you a lot more license, a lot more freedom to add sprinkle some stardust or some dust in there that will not necessarily highlight the people you're talking about. You can change things, place, dates, time, for example. In a fiction story, you can change many things. You can change anything you like, really, to be fair, right? So it's worth thinking about when it comes to how do you tell the story that you want to tell. Again, Jonah's point about where do you stop when it comes to your life story, memoir, call it what you like, right? Autobiography. Because thankfully you're not dead. Yay. And hopefully you're not going to die soon. So there will be more things after you finish your book, as Journey says. Do you carry on and hold on to your book until you've told all the stories to your death? No, you don't. You can always write, and I think you can write another part to your life story. But I'm going to bring this conversation to us soon enough. Let's talk
And
about.
I'm curious. So Dr. Yvonne and Cyrus have both published books, correct?
Dr. Yvonne is working on hers as we speak. We're
Oh,
working on
Cyrus.
the Toxic Relationships book as we speak. I think there's more than one to be done.
Okay.
So Cyrus has his in editing with Alexis right now.
I see. Okay.
So it's coming. Again, Cyrus might have two.
I just didn't know if they had anything else to add.
No. I said no. I think we've all spoken. So you're the one that brought the latest gems. But I think everyone that speaks always adds something to the conversation. I say that this issue of where do you stop with a life story, it's a fascinating one, right? So people write their life stories at 30. Some write the life stories in midlife. That's around our age, Joni, around our age. I won't tell them how old we are. I'm saying some write the life stories much later, when they're closer to death. But I think it's a question that I think I would love to know what your thoughts are. Where do you stop? Do you pause at the end of the book and then start again another book, or do you come back and write version almost issue 2, second edition, in other words? Where you add the new stories further later down the line. Again, a small publisher will do that work for you. A big publisher will. You never know, right? That's a big difference. Safe, let's try and answer your question. What about publishing a standalone short story instead of a collection of short stories? Oh, the choice is yours, my friend. You can, of course, you can write a standalone short story. I bought a book recently. I think it was barely 24 pages. See, that number matters, Safe, because Amazon insists that they're only print books that have 24 internal pages minimum. So if your short story is 24 pages, again, don't think 24 size of A4, because A4 is bigger than a book size. If you think about it, a book is much smaller than A4, right? So and on average, I think one page of A4, if you publish your book in I guess 5x8, will tend to be at least 2.5 pages, if not 3 pages. 6x9, it could be 2 pages at least. If you're wondering what the difference is, let me show you quickly. Right. So this is the difference I'm trying to in terms of book. Amazon has about 20 different book dimensions, Safi. So we can choose which one works for you, right? So this yellow book is 5x8, right? It's a small book, it's a kid's book, so it's a small book. And it's not tiny, but it is 5. It's a standard size book that we have these days. Compare that to the book behind it, which is 6x9. You see, there's edges, right? Now you can see the difference. The 6x9 it's a fair size bigger. So, if you want more pages, go with a smaller size book, smaller dimensions. If you want fewer pages, then go with a bigger dimension book. So that's Dr. Roxana's book, Family Wealth Secrets, right? So we get to choose the dimensions we want. And there's always things that we can add to your book, Safi, to make your book into 24 pages. People don't think about what really goes into internal pages. There's a title page inside the book, for example. That's one page. There's a copyright page. That's another page. There's acknowledgements. There's, I guess, sometimes you might have a preface that says what the book's about. And there's a dedications page as well, and we can always add an author bio at the back of the book, Safi. That's often 2 pages. I'm saying that we'll get to 24 pages quite easily if you have a decent chunk of content that makes up most of the pages. So we can work around that size, that page number thing. But you can publish an ebook as a standalone, as many pages or 3 pages as you like, Safi. So don't let's if you got a story you want to publish, let's talk. That's the best thing we can do. Let's talk. Let me see what you think. Let me see what you have. And then, like I say, I'll send you first of all to Alexis and say, Alexis, please, what can we do with this? Again, the editor is more than just spelling and grammar. They normally give you ideas how to tell the story more effectively, with more impact, with more engagement, with more power, right? I know. So she might tell you where to add more stories, Safi, where to add more. I don't know. I'm trying to find a word for it. More to say what you want to say in a way that helps the readers more. Because in your book, your stories essentially have to paint a picture, right? You have to paint a picture in the reader's minds, and the editor is essential for that part. If they can't see what you want them to see, they will tell you what you can do to, to add to your story to make it work. Look, thank you so much for joining us, my friends, and I'll DM you later. Now, let's have a Zoom. Yes, you're a busy lady. Let's have a Zoom. Let's do a Zoom and let me see what you're thinking. If we can make it work, then we can have a conversation and start the process. Right, my friends, Dr. Yvonne, you've been way too quiet. So, yeah, well, of course, I'll come to you in a second, Joanne. Dr. Yvonne, I'm sure you've heard a lot. What say you? Has
Let
anything
me
been helpful?
see. Oh, you're seeing my table. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, you can tell I'm doing work while I'm doing everything else. Well, I have to say, I I'm honest with the things I know and with the things I do not know. And so, because this is my first endeavor in writing a book, um, you know, I've been approached. I told you I've been approached 3 times. Three is my number. So, um, I believe in universal laws, right? I believe the universe acquiesce so that we may be successful if we're following the right path. And when I was approached the first time about the book, it was right after I started walking again. And I was literally in therapy. So I had several different types of therapy, right? And this one, though, was for my mental state because you know, I was a classically trained dancer for 19 years. I was a thespian. I was an attorney. I'm a mom, a business owner, all these things. And when all of a sudden one day you wake up and everything crashes and you can't even walk, you can't, you can't even get up to take care of your kids and you find out that a lot of it, is psychosomatic and it's because of what you're going through. And then it actually becomes your life for 11 years. Um, and your children are so young and you're going through so many other things. So when you approached me, Annie, I was like, maybe this is the time, because I'm in the fourth quarter, I believe, of my life. And I want to enjoy my life. But I want to pass on some of the things that I went through. But I want it to be helpful. I don't want it to be something where you're sitting there crying and golly gosh, golly, and all that. No, I want you to see that no matter what you go through in life, if you, even if you hit rock bottom, just don't give up. Because once you start seeing that little pinhole of a light, piercing through all that darkness, that light then grows. It grows as you grow, and then you find yourself being birthed out of the other side. You're a rising phoenix. And for me, I think the time is right for me now because I couldn't even have imagined, honestly, surviving some of the things that I had to go through. Uh, and then, you also have people that will say, oh, she's exaggerating, or oh, that's not true. And oh, so this effort with you and with those who will support me, because it's going to be hard, right? I know how to write a demand letter, or a threatening letter, or a letter of consequence, but I don't know how to write a book. So I'm looking forward to this. And I just really want to learn because I don't know. But I do know what I've been through and I want to express it because I felt alone a lot of that journey. But now it's like the piercing of the veil allows me to know that I'm not alone and that what I went through, I had to go through as a chosen, and I can help other people and express myself at the same time because I make my clients journal. But journaling is writing in a way, but I want to be able to write so other people can understand and appreciate and grow. So no, I don't know very much about this topic. I just want to learn and I want to turn out an informative and a good project. You know, that's really all I can say about that. This is an experience for me that I have to learn through. Thank you.
And Dr. Van, you're not alone anymore. Okay? You're not alone anymore. We gotcha. We gotcha. And we have been through
You're
similar.
so sweet. Thank you.
We gotcha, friend. But it is so scary in those moments feeling alone, especially as a woman. And I've been there, and it's fucking sucks. And you kind of have to make sense of it in your head by yourself, and you're just like, like I just want to have a friend to like talk this through. And your friend kind of becomes your paper, or your notes or whatever you do. But I think really for me, like making a consistent calendar, it can be anything. It could be like words that chapter should cover, like rape, boom. We write that chapter, we get over it. Or, just nature, boom, we get that chapter over it. So it's all up to you how you want to organize your thoughts. But you are not alone, girl. I love you.
Thank you so much, Joni. Thank you, Dr.
Wow,
Evil.
thank you.
Look,
Wow.
of course, no,
I've never had friends, right? My father raised us to say that there's family and then there are associates and then there's different degrees of associations, right? And I know what it is to be like betrayed. And I grew up in the United States and I grew up in a great area, but there were groups of people that because I'm an immigrant, right? And when I came to this country, right, I was 1.5. And so I grew up with the same group of people, but there were two different types of people. And one group was go back to your country, you Jamaicans eat rotten bananas. Why did your mother look like that? Or how can your father have, violet color eyes? And I mean, they pick things apart that I really should have been proud of and happy about. And then there was the other group, right? The artistic group that just adored me and adored the talented things we could do together. So I've never had what I would consider friends. It's either family or associates to 3 degrees. So Joni, thank you. I appreciate it. And we both live in the same state.
Well,
Um,
I'm your
so
friend.
that's going to be great. You know, one day maybe we can have coffee. And when I go
I
and
love
meet Emmy, it's going to
that.
be
Like,
great.
especially if it's Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, geez. Ew, but I'm done. I'm
I'm not fancy. I'm not fancy. I like Dunkin' Donuts. All right.
okay, so now it's a love fest again. But
Yeah.
I'm so elated that I found this group and that I found Emmy and everyone that he seems to have a real connection to, you know, like Mr. Calm and other people. I'm not wanting to say everyone's name because I don't remember. I'm old. Um, so I know who you are though, and I know the attitude and I know the authenticity because that is the highest vibration. People think it's love, but it's not. Love comes a close second. Being authentic is the highest vibration we can enjoy. And I believe that these are the people that any draws. And I'm grateful to be one because I'm completely drawn. I'm sold. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Thank you, thank you. You know, so again, you know, you are a big part of our community now, Dr. Yvonne. You really are. So thank you so much for being you, and thank you for joining us always. Joni, look, I agree with you. I think writing your story can be what we call cathartic. You know, so you know, you feel better. You know, you want to process it and put it on paper. You know, it does. As this proverbial paper, my friend, it could be on screen, right? But get your story off your head. Otherwise, I tend to see people, you know, they think about it over and over and over and over until you actually get it off your head. You know, you can't relax about it almost, right? And of course, the other thing I'll say about that is someone needs to hear your story. You know, as Joni said, you know, we're never alone. It's never just us, right? You know, the other people go through what we go through, what we've been through. And if our story can help one person, I say it's worth writing the book, right? You know, if it can help you, that's worth writing the book anyway. But it definitely help more people. That's why we write books. You know, let's learn to tell our story. Dr. Yvonne, you have all that we need, which is this. You have the experience, you have this story, you've been through the journey. We can learn from you. You know, so let's tell the stories and let's make the world a better place. You know, so I always use the words, "My pain is my gain." You know, and we share that with the world, right? Our pain can be other people's gain too. You know, they're not alone. There is a way through. There's a way that we survive, and they can learn from how we survived. Maybe they can use that to create their own solutions, their own strategies. But you know, if we don't tell the stories, you know, I mean, there's the issue of legacy as well. I think in all of this, you know, it is about leaving something for the world, leaving something for our kids to know. Yes, you know, my mum and dad, my brother, my sister, you know, they created a solution for the world, and it'll be there long after we die. Long after we die. Think of books that we read now. Many of them were written hundreds of years ago. You know, so you know, we deserve to have our place, our legacy outlive us. Books are the way to do all that. You know, and the help is there to do it. Look, you know, between Alexis and I and our network, we can do pretty much everything it takes to get a book done, including write a book. You know, so Richard, I appreciate your kind words, the great insights. Professor Shirley, how are you, Professor Shirley? I haven't seen you forever, but you're here, and you commented as well. Thank you for joining us for the Shirley. This lady has she's been in 5 books, and she had a total of 5 books, if not more. I think she was on the next one last time we spoke, right? So she's an amazing lady, and she talks to educators, mental health, and our teachers around the world. So she's in the Middle East, but she's American, and she talks about the education system in America as well. And she works with parents and educators to find that happy place. So that's what she writes about too. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. Very informative. I'll take it. Miss Americo, I was in your room. So yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, you and Jay and Omar, Mrs. Hardy. So I was there. There's so much to consider when it comes to writing the book. Now, of course, there really is. Look, that's it. Dr. CJ just joined us. Dr. CJ, again, another great publisher, another one who does amazing books, especially academic books. Dr. CJ's thing, right? My point, America, is that we create a simple process to get your book done. That's the thing, right? We know the steps. That's why you go to a publisher, because we'll walk you through the steps. I know that CJ is exceptional at doing that too. So if you have the stories, if you have the idea, if you have the will to put the work in and tell the world your stories and get people to benefit from your experiences, we can definitely make it happen. And I said another one I mentioned is, what's her name? Why do names just go out of your head, Dr. Yvonne? You suddenly go blank, right? Nick is the one I'm thinking of. Nicole, GBW. She's an amazing help as well. Look, Dr. CJ is here, so let's hear from Dr. CJ. Then I'll go to Alexis and I'll go to Sarah, so I don't want to have the last word before we leave. Dr. CJ, how are you today?
Late to the party, but nonetheless, I'm here, present.
You're never late. You're here and you're on stage as well. So, you just right on time is what I say, right?
That's right. Well, what are we talking about? Publishing books. Yes. You have to, I don't see Annie's amazing publisher. And I think what I do see is collaboration over competition. Is like some people will feel comfortable dealing with one person, even though we're doing the same publishing. It's just different stories. So I love that you're elevating the community on, hey, get your stories out there, publish with a publisher that you like to work with, because it's all about energy. You want to make sure that your story is out there and you feel good about it, right? And so the right publisher and the right people that you work with makes a huge difference on how you feel about your stories. And the most important thing really is to leave a legacy of how you live your life, right? So thank you for having me on stage. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's a bit you can probably add to as well, Dr. CJ. See, my bug today is people come to us and they don't seem to understand how we work as small publishers. Whether you call yourself small or not, I'm saying we're not the traditional publishers, so we work very differently to how they work. I love people to understand how we work, because I want them to get the book they want. And very often, people don't get the book they want because they don't know what they want. And they don't seem to understand that without that knowledge, without a vision for their book, Dr. CJ, we can't create a book that they want. We're not magicians, right? So if you help us now, what's your, I guess, your expectations from your authors to create the book they want? What do you do? What do you go through? What do you think? As they work with you.
Okay, so to work with me, I first depends if they want to do solo anthologies or academic publishing, because I do both and I put them in major distribution channels like Barnes and Nobles and universities and things like that. So it really depends on the three, right? So let's say that if you work with me one-on-one on your book, the first thing that we want to do is, who is the whole point of your book? Like, who is your target market? Right? You got to know who that is. And if you say, hey, you know what? I really don't have a target market. I just want to help people get the knowledge that I have. Because most of my clients will say that. Like, they don't have a target market. They just want to be out there. I said, okay. So then the second question is, Do you want to just put your book out there and no expectation on sales? Or do you want to have some type of expectation on sales and have your book out there? Because those are two different budgets, right? I think a lot of people think that when you write a book and you put your book out there that you make a lot of money. That's not true, right? That's not true. You know, you and I know that. You're not going to become a millionaire unless you're into, the New Year's bestseller. You can, by the way, go to New Year's bestseller, but you spend $60,000. If you want that, let me know. I have somebody that could get us there, right? I have all of those people, but you have to know if you're going to write a book, what your point is. Why are you writing it? Ask yourself, right? I don't just help people just to take money and go for it. No. I want to help you because I want you to feel good about the book that you write, because this could be your first and your last book you'll ever write. You never know. So I want you to feel good about that, and I want you to think about it. So I give them homework on the reality, right? You're not going to be a millionaire on creating books, but there's different ways you can make money off of your books, right? But it takes work. And if you want to travel to sign books everywhere, you can. We can do a publicist for you. We can, put it on Barnes and Nobles, because there's a lot of Barnes and Nobles and Powell's in the United States, right? We're the consumer country, so we consume a lot of those things. You got to also research which state actually appreciates reading a book, because you don't want to go in a state where no one even knows what you're talking about, and you're going there. You're going to lose time and money. So you got to research all of those things behind. And you're right, they have to pay for the right price. And actually, you and I are probably similar in our business. I'm probably much I do different ways of looking at it, but at the end of the day, our heart, you and I, Annie, our heart is just to help and serve our community. But a lot of people don't understand that there's different ways of writing your book, and there's different ways of putting your book out there. But at the end of the day, you need to know what you're writing about, who you're writing it for, and what's your budget. Really, that is where it lies.
Yeah. No, so I love that. It's every now there are different ways to make money from your book for sure. And it's not always book sales. Book sales help, but they're not going to make you rich. Really not. I think I will say this, and I'll bring it's a conversation we're going to have one day in this room as well, which is we have to learn to use our voices. The money is in your voice. The money is in your story. So writing your story is one thing. Telling your story is something entirely different. It's a continuation of your book, right? If you can find your voice and go around and talk about your book, your story, your message, to the right audiences, you sell more books, and also you'll be a better person for it, and you have more impact. Dr. CJ, now so let me pick on you one more, right? Zion said, Dr. CJ, always spot on. Welcome, my brother. Look, do join us for our next room. So Positivity Live. We're talking about how to move away from a world of negativity and negative thinking. That's what Zion and I talking about putting our Positivity Live. So do join us. I'm sure I'll send you all the link anyway. Dr. CJ, I think one thing that people really miss about working with people like you, and I guess not the traditional publishers, but whether you call it small or medium, whatever you want to call us, right? I say small because I like small. Small means flexible. People don't understand the choices they have to make when they come to us. They think we're just going to take care of them, magically create what they want. Of course, I'm talking about even the look of the book. The look, the pictures, the font, the layout. The client gets the choice in everything, right? In my world, they get a choice in everything they do. And my clients have to read their book several times before we go to publish. They read the book when Alexis gives back to them as the editor. They read the book once I look at it and say, okay, here's the layout I propose. They read the book once the layout's actually done. They read the book again when the book's on Amazon, on the bookstores, whichever bookstores. The more bookstores, the more you have to read the book again, right? Make sure it looks right, sounds right, is right for you. And then we order a proof copy, where you have to get a print copy in your hand. So a lot of people think we're just going to magically create the book they want, choose the fonts, choose the colors, choose the cover, and the book will be done. Please help us. Do you, I know I imagine you give them choices at every stage as well, right?
Yeah. So again, if they don't know who their target audience are, it's kind of hard. I can create a book cover in a split second. But if you don't know exactly who your target or your favorite color, or, I always give feedback. At the end of the day is sometimes the clients really do not know. They really do not know. So I ask a lot of questions, what about this book that you want people to know? What are the outcomes? Because I have a marketing background, right? Neuromarketing is something that I love to do, and I like my university spent like $20,000 to put me to a neuromarketing um, thing for the best like brain surgeon out there. So that's my background, and I love doing that. So I always bring my neuromarketing hat and said, okay, you have to know what you're doing, and in terms of like your thought process. So I ask a lot of questions, and then from there I make suggestions. But at the end of the day, you're right, they have to have a choice of the color scheme, the font, and I'll make suggestions. But at the end of the day, they're the clients, right? So they're the customer. They have to feel good. And I always tell them, listen, you have to be able to trust my decision, so that when we work together moving forward, and if you have a lot of choices and you like, I don't know what to choose, and I give you an option, and then later on you're going to say, oh, I really didn't feel good about that option, but it's too late, it's printed. You know what I mean? Like, it's done. So I think the good thing is I always give them a way to choose every single step. But at the end of the day, Annie, you and I know that no matter what we do in terms of choices and editing and things like that, not all the clients are always going to be happy. People have a tendency to always say negative things about you no matter what you do, right? So we just pretty much stay to our core and said, this is our process, this is how we do it. We give people choices, but at the end of the day, if they're not happy, they have to take accountability that they had choices and they choose not to choose.
I agree with you 100% on that one. So that's really a good place to leave the conversation from my side today. So I used to feel really bad. I used to feel terrible. I'm like, oh, I'm not very good at this. This is terrible. I've made a huge mistake. I haven't made a mistake. Unless you choose, I can't create what you want. But I've just learned that, Dr. CJ. I've learned the client has to be prepared. That's why I ended the conversation today. If you don't choose, I'll create. I can't create if you don't choose. That's what I've learned. That's my process now, right? Maybe I need to have a checklist for my new clients to say, tell me what you want, font wise, color wise, even spacing. Tell me that you want double spacing, single spacing, everything. You have to decide. I can't just create a book, that I want to. It's your book, not mine, right? Bear that in mind, my friends. If you have a vision for what you want, we'll create it for you. So my clients who have that vision, they get the book they want. That's my title today, right? How do you get the book that you really want from us? And that's come towards the vision for your book. Tell me what you want your book to look like. If you know that, I'll create it for you. The CJ will create it for you. If you don't know what you want, then we give you options. But and if you choose something doesn't turn out to be what you want, it's not on me. We'll help you. Don't get me wrong. We'll help. We'll try and put it right. But to redo a book that you finished, the layout for and published and printed, to redo that book again in a different font, it means a lot of work, and it might change the book from how it looks, how it feels, right? Because it might change the number of pages, for example. Bear that in mind, my friends. No, if you want your book done, my friends, talk to us. We'll happily help you. Many people in the audience have their own books. Again, talk to them. Joni has a book, Dr. Melissa has a book. So do talk to them. It's really, Michelle Ramos has a book. Dr. Roxana has several books. I think we're number 4 at the moment, I think, with Dr. Roxana. Jay has his own book. I'm saying talk to people who've done books. Work out your options. Alexis, thanks so much, Dr. CJ. You're a star. Thanks so much for joining us. Better late than never. Alexis, what do you want to leave us with today?
Oh, well, what we have here is an amazing cadre of talent, professionalism, knowledge, experience, and heart. And when people show up for this, or they come to us, they're entrusting us with their baby, you might say, their heart, their soul, their product. So on that same token, you must trust the professionalism, the suggestions that are offered to show your book in the best light, and all the steps along the way from creation and inception to not only publishing but marketing. But offer the direction, listen to suggestions, offer the direction so that we can give the best of the knowledge, professionalism, talent to your product. And that's about it for today. Thank you.
Beautifully said. Every word you say, you said better than I would have done. So I agree with you entirely. So thank you so much. Make your choices, my friends. Cyrus, are you still there? I don't know if you are. No? Okay. Look, Alexis Safi has emailed you, she says. So she sent you an email. So it sounds like she's got a book in mind, a book, somewhere on paper.
Okay, thank you. Great. Thank you. I'll check.
Yeah, superb. My friends, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you all. So we're back again in 2 weeks' time. Dr. CJ has events. She's doing the 50 Inspirational Connections. Dr. CJ, why am I telling them? You tell them. I know Zion's involved.
Yeah, so this is my third year, 50 Inspirational Connections. It's my community give back and service to people who really give back to their community. And it's free. And this year, actually, Annie, we're changing it. I'm actually giving cash prices from $10 to $100 randomly. You'll also be on the Level Up magazine for free. Everything is free. There's no money or anything. I just want to gather a community who gives back to communities and be the inspiration. Our world is full of negative people, negative ideas. And Annie, thank you so much for being an ambassador last year. I appreciate you so much.
It was a joy. It really was a joy. So again, we did many events to highlight that, to showcase people and to showcase the 50 Inspirational Connections. So I feel blessed. That's why I'm so happy that Zion's in it this year as well.
Yes. So nominate anybody, guys. Anybody can nominate anybody. The requirement is that you're doing something for the community that's inspirational. Again, it's free if you just go to levelupwithdoc.com, and that's it.
Thank you so much. My friends, do check out the 50 Inspirational Connections. It's worth joining. So you'll be showcased, highlighted. People will see you, hear you a lot more than you currently do. And as CJ says, it's free, and you get to win money. Imagine that. Yeah, free money. Did I say that out loud? Dr. CJ, this could be rather expensive, right? But anyway, thank you so much. Thanks for what you do as well for our community. We all need to be more visible. So, and I'll probably nominate Dr. Yvonne. I really will. So I'll come to that in good time. Dr. Yvonne, we'll talk later. We'll talk later, and then so it's a short form to fill in, so it's not that detailed. So we'll talk later. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy your Friday. Do come to Positivity Live if you can. We'd love to hear your thoughts there as well.
Be well.
You take care, Dr. Yvonne. Take care, everyone. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. See you in 2 weeks.
Every step forward is a new beat to your drama. She's success with Global.Media.com and celebrate it with or without champagne or rum. She's success with Global.Media.